Thank you.
Okay, joining us now, Florida Republican Congressman Byron Donalds. Congressman, welcome back. And I want to start with you the same place, this conversation about the 25th Amendment. Two of your GOP colleagues have offered up a resolution calling on the vice president and the cabinet to move on that. Now, the Federalist notes that would be tough for Republicans because you'd be then up and against an incumbent of President Harris going into November. But they say this: that might prompt some congressional Republicans to remain silent rather than demand Vice President Harris and Biden's cabinet deliver a declaration of incapacity. But they, too, took an oath to bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution and faithfully discharge the duties of the office. Do you think the president is well enough to continue on? Would you support a move on the 25th Amendment?
First of all, it's good to be with you. I do not believe that Joe Biden has the capabilities of serving out the rest of this term, let alone running for president. The Democrats are the ones who have a serious issue here, not the Republican members on Capitol Hill. I do agree we do have a responsibility to make sure that the occupants of the Oval Office has the mental capabilities to do that job. But that responsibility relies with the Vice President, Kamala Harris, and with the cabinet. What we are seeing is that they have decided to cover up for Joe Biden to protect their radical agenda as opposed to doing what is in the best interest of the American people. If that resolution hits the floor, I would vote for it 100%. But at the end of the day, Kamala Harris and the cabinet, they have a responsibility to the American people. They have a constitutional duty to the American people.
So let's talk about the vice president because, you know, our previous guest, former Congressman Ryan, has said that she's more energetic. She would connect better with women, with voters of color, places where Democrats are having some surprising trouble. CNN polling taken after the debate shows that she does poll better against President Trump than President Biden does. They say this: she's within striking distance of Trump in a hypothetical matchup, 47 to 45 with registered voters. That's in part on broader support for women. 50% of female voters back Harris over Trump versus 44% for Biden, and independents, 43% for Harris versus 34% for Biden. Is there an acknowledgement within the Trump campaign that you may have to pivot to a different candidate who actually has some strengths that the current president does not when it comes to polling?
No, we don't believe so. We think also if you start to really dig into some other polls that have come out, that Donald Trump does just as well against Kamala Harris, if not better, when you compare her to Joe Biden. The other thing is we've not really gone into depths with the record of Kamala Harris. When she was a United States Senator, she co-sponsored and fully supported Bernie Sanders' radical takeover of American health care. Would add $32 trillion to a $35 trillion debt already. She co-sponsored and fully sponsored this radical Green New Deal, which would cost the American people almost $100 trillion. And it would make electricity prices higher and would make our inflation problems worse. And then you look at her job as vice president. She's the border czar, but did nothing. The last time she was at the border almost 2 years ago, there have been 6 million new illegal immigrants in our country. What did she do? She's the AI czar. Nothing materialized. What did she do? And then you get to the interviews. I mean, whether you're talking about the cackling laugh or Venn diagrams, there's not been anything of substance. So if she's now at the top of the ticket, our game plan remains the same. It talks about the disastrous agenda from the Biden-Harris administration and how Donald Trump will make America great again.
So the Federalist, which agrees with you on most of those things, also has a warning for Republicans about where they depend on voters showing up. They say this: Republicans can't assume their polling and debate performances will be enough to win this November. The party must keep its foot on the pedal of ballot operations. There have been questions about the Trump campaign, about the Republican strategy for, turnout, for ballot harvesting, for all of these things that have been opposed in the past, but where they're legal, the party is now advocating. What is the plan on that front?
Well, so I will tell you, as a party, we are fully supportive of, depending on the jurisdiction and where the state laws are in that area. If it means that you have to go out and make sure people return absentee ballots, you go ahead and do that. It is about making sure that the ballots are in, that you get as many people registered, you get as many people turned out to support President Trump. Like, I know people in our country are looking at the fact that Joe Biden is literally falling apart in front of our eyes, confirming what everybody knew. Now everybody everybody knows 100%, but you still have to execute the game plan in the campaign. That means people going out to the polls and actually voting, not just looking at the public opinion polls, which obviously demonstrate that Donald Trump is in a great position. But at the end of the day, the party is united about making sure we get voters out to the polls. GOTV operations are going to be crucial in this election.
So, can you tell us anything about the president's vice presidential selection? Do you know a timeline? Do you know the pick?
I do not know the timeline. I do not know the pick. Donald Trump's going to do that. I will say that if you take a look at the job that obviously Joe Biden's a disaster, but even Kamala Harris, these two really have not had an interest in what the American people are trying to have, which is secure borders, lower costs at the grocery store, lower housing costs, a thriving economy, and peace around the world, actual true global leadership, not global pandering. And so I think whoever Donald Trump decides to go with is going to be an exemplary pick. We are going to have a significantly better president in the Oval, and we're going to have a significantly better vice president being his partner to help make sure our country gets back on track.
Well, we'll see in the coming days who the opponents are going to be and who is added to the RNC ticket as well. Congressman, thank you. Always appreciate your time.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.